Hey there! Welcome! I'm really excited to have everyone here. Me and two of my great friends, Ricky Roy from 2-Bit Da Vinci and Matt Farrell from Undecided with Matt Farrell, are going to be hosting a special watch party at this year's Nvidia GTC, where we'll be talking about Earth 2, which is Nvidia's digital twin of the entire world, which they're setting up to help understand and combat climate change. So we're bringing together three content creators, including myself, who are really focused on understanding advanced technology, sustainable energy, and artificial intelligence and how it's impacting our futures. So I'd like to talk a little bit about why we're excited for this event and how you can come and join us so that you can see things firsthand, as well as win a sweet GTX 3080 Ti graphics card. So why don't we start with Matt Farrell? Can you explain a little bit about the event and what we're so excited about?
Well, this is going to be talking about the NVIDIA's building out a digital twin of Earth so they can explore climate change and how climate's going to be changing over the coming years and how much faster it is for their models to predict weather changes over time. And for me, I'm the most excited because I got into this looking into how NVIDIA was impacting the research around wind turbines and doing modeling around that and learning about their digital twin, about how they can look at the entire planet and look at extreme weather conditions, being better about predicting hurricanes, tornadoes, things like that are going to impact the planet. So that's what I was getting so excited about.
Sure. And what about you, Ricky? What are you most excited about?
Yeah, I had the same introduction to NVIDIA. It was from their incredible research that they do with wind turbine placement. I mean, this was a job that used to be really time consuming. It would take hundreds of hours to do the CFD models, and they're able to do it so quickly with some of their different technologies. And then I just feel like every new video that I come across that I'm researching or starting to prep for, they kind of work themselves into. So I have a video coming up on what if we could pump water from areas of floods to areas of drought. And I kind of reached out to him. I was like, hey, could we have a little chat about this? And yeah, it's one of those things where you think, okay, well, if you pump water from areas of flood to drought, wouldn't you just have water problems somewhere else? Well, no, because if there's a really heavy rain event coming up and you could predict it and you could pump water out or open up reservoirs capacity, that water would then be held instead of going down rivers and back into the ocean. So there's actually a net positive effect. So the more you think about it, yeah, the computational modeling and predicting is one of the big things that we could really do to help with all the work that we all do in different ways. So really excited about the company, and it's just one of those companies I've always loved. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's a really great idea too. Pumping water from places of extreme floods to droughts and kind of treating it like electricity. Like when we generate too much in certain areas, but other areas need it, you can always transfer it over. So I'd love to see what your angle is on doing that with water. My actual introduction to NVIDIA is a lot nerdier. I grew up playing a lot of video games. I grew up building computers. And as a result, NVIDIA was part of my conversation, just learning about graphics cards and computers and game modding and all that. So I was really surprised to learn all about NVIDIA's other efforts and all the other ways that GPUs can be used to do things other than gaming. So for example, one of the things that Earth 2 is doing that's very special is they have something called ForecastNet. And ForecastNet is basically an AI-driven physics blended model that lets you predict extreme weather effects up to tens of thousands of times faster than traditional models on a single GPU. And when I heard that and realized that the same GPUs that we use for all our nerdy habits like video games are the same GPUs that can be responsible for these extremely high fidelity, quick, extreme weather predictions, that kind of blew my mind. So that's why I signed up on board and why I'm so excited for this event, to just understand how these technologies, this one technology platform, right, the GPU, and all the things that NVIDIA builds on top of it can be used in so many different industries, including a digital twin of the entire world. So
it's really cool to see. This is really unlocking a whole bunch of potential, which is why all three of us are so excited about it.
Sure. If people are excited to join us, one of the easiest ways to do that is to check the descriptions in whatever live stream you're currently watching this on. And what you'll see there is a link to the session where you can go and register for the event. The event takes place in roughly 90 minutes. So it's 1 p.m. Eastern is the start of the watch party. And all you have to do is sign up for an NVIDIA account if you haven't already, and then add the session to your calendar. And all the information to join is in that session, or is in that calendar invite, including what you need to do to have your chance to win that GPU. Does anyone else want to talk about something that they're excited about for this session specifically, or something that they're trying to learn to incorporate into their future content?
It's just some of the nerdy details. I'm really looking forward to getting into the details of how it works, how they created it, because it's like I'm fascinated by how the AI model is so much faster than the numerical models that we use today for weather. It's like it's kind of mind blowing how much faster it is, and I'm curious to learn more about that.
Sure. What about you, Ricky?
So you mentioned nerding out with games. I think we can all agree there's probably a fair bit of that as far as how we, fell in love with NVIDIA.
Sure.
But we actually use these things also for a lot of rendering. So in videos, when we talk about topics, there just isn't much information or there aren't much video about. Our team, Juan especially, will get into Blender and render stuff. And their latest generation of graphics cards are just wicked. There are videos and scenes that would take us 10 minutes per frame before that we could do in 2. And suddenly that's the difference between being able to make a little render in a weekly release episode or not. So we were just huge fans. We had 3090s in a couple of our machines, and now we have a 3080 Ti as well. So just that kind of computational power is just so immense. The question I would really want to find out from them is how exactly do they train their models? So if this is a full self-driving car, you say, okay, this is what a stop sign looks like. What do you see? And the car goes, that's a stop sign. You go, good job. And then they see a sign with a little bit of obstruction from some foliage, and it says, that's not a stop sign. And go, yeah, actually it was. And then you just continue to train it, and it gets better over time.
Yeah.
Well, how does this work? How does the training for Earth 2 look like? I'm really excited to hear from Karthik. And I think we've all had a chance to chat with Karthik. He's a really smart dude, and I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So for those of you who don't know, we'll be joined by the lead of the Earth 2 program, the whole initiative. So the supercomputer, the software stack, the hardware stack, the AI training models. So Karthik Kashanath is the guy who leads the whole Earth 2 program, and he'll be joining us at the watch party. And one thing I'm super excited for is, just like you, Ricky, one of the things that they talked about at this GTC during the keynote is how they've been doing a lot more like predicting instead of a lot more learning. So what they've been doing lately for video games is training AI to look at previous frames of a video game and the current frame in a video game to predict what the next frame would look like, and then add like fidelity to the graphics card at that prediction step without having to wait for the graphic to render in the first place. So I'm curious to see how their breakthroughs in video games and graphic generation and high resolution in real time transfer over to things like high resolution, high fidelity weather models and being able to predict really volatile, extreme weather events with high accuracy. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that those two types of prediction at least have the same like mathematical foundation, if they're not actually the same technique. So I'm excited to learn more about how they do that as well. And again, if you're looking forward to joining us at this event, the best way to do that is to go into the description below and then just simply register for it. The session link is in the description. It's going to be the link that says it's the watch party with all 3 of us. That starts at 1 p.m. Eastern. And all you have to do is sign up for an NVIDIA account if you already haven't. And then you'll have all the information you need right from the calendar invite that you get when you sign up for the event.
Let me ask you guys an off-topic question.
Sure.
How do you feel when like we're talking about this stuff? Most people would respond, "How is this even going to work when we don't have weather predictions that, the weatherman gets weather wrong all the time?" Like, how is this different? How is this different? How would you guys respond to that?
Sure. Yeah, maybe I can go first. So like one of the big fundamental weaknesses of weather is that it's like a short-lived prediction, right? So it's using very near-term information in the past to make very near-term predictions on the future. And so what I think Earth 2 is starting to do differently is it's incorporating a lot more data, not just across weather data, but also climate data. So global information about things like cloud coverage and sea levels and change in surface temperature and all these things that help predict local weather events even better, but take a lot of computation to run, take a lot of time and energy and resources to run. But because of all the developments that we've just heard about at GTC and we've talked about here, they're incorporating all that to make it not as long to run and not require as much computing to run, which allows them to predict further out into the future or at the same amount in the future with higher accuracy. So that's what I think the big difference is. How about you, Ricky?
So I remember back when I was in my aerospace engineering days, we had this project, we had this problem jet that we couldn't figure out what was wrong with it, and everyone kept looking at the same data points and based on the same parameters, the manifold pressure at this junction or this, they couldn't figure out what was going on. So it wasn't until we switched over to a more holistic view where we looked at this way further upstream, way further downstream, and we gathered and processed data. We kind of automated it, and eventually we figured out what the problem was, and you would have never guessed it. It was a sticking actuator on some other line on another system, but the end effect after such and such cycles causes problems. Yeah, it's what it comes down to is it's really hard to take all the data available in the world. Like if you have all these weather stations and they're recording temperatures and pressures and wind speeds around the world, that's great. Like recording data is great. What do you do with it? That's the part that's actually really challenging, and especially because the weather data just keeps coming. There's tomorrow and the day after that. And so eventually you have all this data, but there's no really easy way to go through it and to make sense of it. And so that's really at the heart of what a lot of machine learning allows us to do. You could just feed these things, huge amounts of data, especially at the scale that NVIDIA operates at, and find patterns that we didn't think were connected. Like maybe the weatherman thought it was going to rain tomorrow because, well, there's this low pressure front and it's going to be this. But it turns out there's another parameter of wind speeds off of the coast of, Baja California that actually has a bigger impact. But we just never knew because we never calculated it. There's a lot to be excited about for sure. It's you kind of mentioned all the game tech, right? Like DLSS is one of those technologies where they actually render in a lower resolution. And then with machine learning, they kind of interpolate what the in between pixels should be, and then they scale it back up again. That's at the heart of how they do the wind turbine stuff. Computational fluid dynamics in 1080p or 4K is incredibly draining on a system. But if you do it in 480p and then scale it back up at the end, you get a similar result in a fraction of the time, right? So sometimes it's just clever new takes on old things that we've done before. To your point about the weather, the weatherman's just wrong enough to not be reliable, but just right enough not to think he's a total crock, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think you're bringing up a lot of great points, especially around the techniques that are being used to generate this data are changing too, right? So one of the things that people do in modern weather models is they make a prediction, then they update that prediction based on new weather information. And when you have that information piping in from all over the world, all sorts of different sensors, a lot of AI work needs to go into cleaning up that data and then making the right predictions and then adjusting those predictions when the next sample of data comes in. So that's a huge, big data problem too, that requires all these AI techniques to downscale, do in real time, then upscale to make sure things are working. So you're right. I'm really excited to see how the gamer tech that we've been talking about also helps translate to this as well.
Gamers will save the world. I guess that's what you're saying.
Gamers will save the world, man. That's true. Like it's all up to the nerds, So we have 3 audiences here filled with nerds that I'm excited to join us for this event. Do you guys want to close out anyway? Like say something about what you plan on doing at the event, the kinds of questions you plan on asking. If there are any questions that the audience has for us right now that we can relay during the event, feel free to drop them in the chat. Why don't we start with you, Matt? Is there like one specific question you're going to ask or an audience question that you want to ask that you're seeing in your chat?
That's for me. It's like I've been keeping an eye on the comments because it's like I want to see if there's some good questions that I can bring up in the chat session when we have it later. Because I really want to try to get answers for all of you guys. If you have questions, make sure you drop them in the comments.
For sure. Yeah, Ricky, are you seeing any specific questions that you're interested in asking during the event? Either from you or from one of your audience members in your chat?
I was just reading, somebody said that Matt, Alex, and Ricky, you 3 gentlemen are out saving the world. So, that feels good. That's cool. I think I'm trying to kind of relay that as well. What we could do is probably once we go offline here, we can go through, sift through, see some common questions and stuff, and put together some stuff for the team to answer as we start. So this is a pre-show, right? This is not the show. We're just all kind of talking about how to get set up, how to join, and we hope to see you guys at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Is that right?
That's right.
Yep.
And bring your questions. Yeah, you can message us if you have, if you're on our Discords or email or in this comment section of this video, and we can try to put those together and make sure that they get in front of the right people.
Yep.
For sure.
If you want to join in, make sure you're going to the link in our descriptions, which takes you over to the GTC NVIDIA site where you can sign up and join the session directly.
Yeah, looking forward to it. We'll see you guys
Yeah.
there in just a few short
See you
minutes.
guys there.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Cheers.